Good evening and welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. It is 5:30 p.m.
Mike's on.
Mike's on.
Just like the old days.
And we have one closed session item. We will have the city attorney announce the closed session item, take any public comment on the item, and then recess to closed session.
As soon as I can find it. It is. We are at a closed session item A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B4. One matter.
Who's suing us this time?
And actually, yeah, that's fine.
It's a threat of litigation. It's not determined to be.
It actually is not a threat of significant exposure. It is initiation of litigation. One case, 54956.9D2, and it makes no difference for purposes of noticing, but it does make a difference on what I'm required to report out.
Well, as long as you're keeping track of it. So
Yeah.
we're going to the Weatherall room, or are we sitting right here? What are we going to the Weatherall?
Weather.
As long as there's no public comment, we're going in the other room.
I see no public comment. We'll adjourn to the Weatherall room.
Weatherall.
Weatherall. We're going to call this meeting, we're going to reconvene this meeting, bring it back to order, and return from opening session.
Closed session.
From closed session, thank you, Vice Mayor. So I'm going to recall the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council in order. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, and it's 6:30 PM. Councilmember Cece, would you read for us the land recognition?
We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Councilmember Fleming, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Welcome. Madam Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Here.
Vice Mayor Klein?
Here.
And Mayor Peterson?
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you. And is there anything to report out from the city attorney on closed session?
No reportable action.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll take up the agenda, and now would be the time for any agenda modifications. If you'd like to make any changes to the agenda, pull consent items, or have any recusals to announce. Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Fernandez and a second by Councilmember Cece. Those in favor, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we now have a presentation. California Heritage and Indigenous Research Project. Shelley, hello, Shelley.
Hi.
Oh, yes, sitting, please.
Pull up the presentation.
All right. So, Hamakini. Hi, everybody. We just wanted to bring an update. Just a quick, how things are going. We're getting a lot of questions about how is the Ancestral Homelands return going, the fundraiser, the acquisition of the Woman land, all kinds of things like that. The gallery, questions about federal recognition. There's just a whole bunch of stuff, I guess. It's a culmination, as many of you know, of a long time of work of trying to, at the beginning, it was just to raise visibility because we were just pretty much invisible. And so starting from that point so long ago to where we are today, I think there's just so many exciting things going on. And I'm learning myself. I think I just silo things because I was doing it alone for a long time, really trying to represent as well as I could. And now that we have staff and there's capacity, and like Cousin Saxon is hired full time, we're really, I'm learning that one hand needs to talk to the other, and part of that is just letting people know what's going on. Go figure. Letting people know what's going on. Yeah. So this is do I have to point this somewhere?
Just kind of over this way.
All right.
Shelley, I just want to make sure the people at home can hear you. Can you grab one of those microphones and just pull it a little closer, just to be sure?
Like, if nobody can hear me, that'll be a first. Thank you. All right. So, for those who don't know, The Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe was federally recognized up until it was terminated in 1964. And we are still seeking to have our federal recognition restored. So sort of in lieu of that, or to be the vehicle for us to do education and outreach and fundraising and programs, all that kind of stuff, CHIRP was created. And it is the 501c3 that is guided by the Nevada City Rancheria Tribal Council. And I think a lot of people get confused of who CHIRP is and who the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan are, and that is the tribally guided nonprofit. So we continue a path of steady growth. We've just had almost a doubling, sometimes some years, of our capacity and our funding. It's been really great. Increased staff, active grants, our recent land rematriation with the Homeland Return fundraising campaign, visibility. We're just increasing our visibility, again, that being the center of what started everything. But also, what we don't share out publicly that often is the really strong focus on the well-being of the tribal members. That centers around our elders a lot. Because every generation we're closer to the genocide and to the losing of land and all the things that happened, the more of that they carry. And each generation out, we get more, I don't want to say watered down, but we hold less of the trauma, or maybe hold less of the whys we have the trauma that we have in the tribe. So this year, Nisenan Heritage Day, there's a lot going on. So we're asking, would people celebrate with us from home? We're not actually going to hold a physical event this year, but we are going to just be sharing out a lot of things on our social media. So if you want to follow us there, I think it's a really good reason to not have an event is because there's a lot of exhaustion going on. And I thought, what a great way to really share collectively with one another with the burnout, and don't get burned out, and don't just keep holding events just because. We want to celebrate and really reflect, and I think we can do that digitally very, very well. So please follow us, and we'll do Heritage Day together virtually, which is awesome. So the big thing is the Homeland Return. We did close escrow on that 232 acres that was the Woolman land. It was a really, thank you to everyone who donated. Some people donated multiple times. If the social justice movement hadn't happened, if people weren't doing land acknowledgements and conversation around the other side of history that doesn't get told a lot in California of what happened to the Native people, we never would have been able to raise the funds that we raised. So we closed it about we didn't close, it'll be an ongoing thing forever, I'm sure. But we raised just over $2.5 million. Wow. So, and we currently have tribal families moving onto the land and working with the county to get things permitted and be in compliance. And whoops, I'm forgetting about my slide. But it's really incredible. It's incredible, and I think I'm still shell-shocked a little bit. I'm just sort of like, what's next? This is one of the other exciting things that I just thought was share-worthy is some people don't know, I didn't know this, that Cornwall is a sister town with Grass Valley and Nevada City. And some of the tribal members are part Cornish and part Nisenan. And so we've had this ongoing relationship that's culminated in working with the Royal Cornwall Museum just to find these stories, like who came here during the gold rush and maybe are part Nisenan and then went home to Cornwall. What are the stories that might be alive? That we found a genealogy connection on our first webinar that we did with them. with, again, Saxon, Aunt Sarah, the Thomases, who were part founders of where we are today on the Cornish side, and Nisenan as well. So that's really exciting. You can also learn more about that work that we're doing on our website and look for dates of upcoming talks. This is something I've been not responding to with really serious instruction from my elders about the artwork in Grass Valley that is the Solemni mural. And there's a bunch of misinformation, really harsh verbiage. I'm getting called out all the time. The covert clan having to do with the tribe and all these other things, going to the extent of saying that I am not Nisenan, my family is not Nisenan, that we are not Nisenan. It's just absolutely unfounded. And please, I always say this, my door, email, not that I ever answered emails or phones, but most people can find me when they really want to find me. Please come and talk. If you have something to ask, please come and ask. I am the open book of Chattermouth.
You're really good in a moment.
And
If I see you out and about.
This is just unfounded. I don't want to go in it too deeply, but it's really affecting on our artist, Nikila Badua, who is a native artist who spends so much time working in a community with indigenous peoples to help tell stories of a community. And if you want to go more, we've actually come to an official statement about this. So I would hope that could be put to rest. It's just really, I just ignore things. Ignore it, it'll go away. And so this one isn't going away, it just keeps lingering over there. So please go to our website, learn more. You'll see an official statement from the Tribal Council, from CHIRP. And there's a topic of this thing we call lateral violence in Native communities that I'm just learning about. And it's kind of a real thing. So if you want to know more, you can go and learn more about that. What I just said, there we go. Please ask me anything. No question is dumb. There's nothing you can't ask me. I know people say, I don't mean to be rude. I don't want to ask the wrong thing and be disrespectful. I feel if we don't talk about things of discomfort, we're never going to be able to explore discomfort and get rid of it. And we need to know one another. And the only way to do that is to really talk to one another. So please, there's so much more to share. It's all just feeling really, really glorious, getting some of the elders out there into housing on the old woman land, which, is Yulicha, the original Nisenan name for that site. So thank you very much. Thank you for your support. And contact me if anybody has questions. All the questions, the good, the bad, the ugly. Ask them. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Hang on, let's see if we've got any comments. Perhaps we'll start with our official liaison, Councilmember Sisi.
Well, thank you, Shelley, for putting together that presentation. And thank you to the tribal elders for putting some thought into that statement, which is included in the packet, if you guys read it, about lateral aggression, is that the word?
Lateral violence, which feels a
Lateral
little
violence.
harsh to me, but I know in some situations it's absolutely the right word. I've just seen something in on the other side of it that they're calling lateral kindness, which I'm like, I love that.
Yes.
The other one, I'm like, ugh,
Or that,
so.
or that is needed. And thank you very much for taking the time to come here and present tonight.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Man.
Yes, please.
Shelley, thank you so much. Something that occurred to me that we've talked about before, I've had conversations with Saxon for sure, is that, Nisenan history predates gold mining history, but also the Nisenan that are living today, their history is Nisenan history and gold mining history.
Absolutely.
And not just through not just through happenstance in the occurrences, but also through genealogy. So thank you for sharing that piece, because I think that's important to note that many members of the Nisenan tribe are of
all over the place. You can
yeah.
only imagine everybody came from
Settlers,
every place on this planet
colonizers,
for the gold
right.
rush. So, I mean, wouldn't talk about the melding pot.
Yeah. So thank you for that reminder. And then also just the clarification around who you are, what you're doing, and also countering some of the noise that has been around. And I know you're hesitant to call it violence, but when it takes up the amount of space that it does and has the impact that it does emotionally and logistically that it has for y'all, I think that is an accurate statement. So I just appreciate you being here. I know it's not easy to speak to the noise. And also, congratulations, 232 acres. I am so excited for all that will happen on that land. And the word rematriation feels really, really special. So well wishes and all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Shelley.
Good to see you,
I'm so proud
Shelley.
to see how far you've come in
Thank
such a
you.
short amount of time. The
Thank you.
progress is just amazing.
I hope so. They say that tipping point thing is real. Maybe it is.
It is.
And the
I'm like, I don't know. I got to go home and
And the dreams do come true, Shelley. Dreams do come true. All right, so this brings us to public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the city council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exception, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. The microphone is open if we have any public comment.
Hello. My name is Libby, and I'm here to talk about what happened on September 29th. I think some of you have heard a little about what happened. And just to preface this, yesterday was the National Day of Action Against Police Brutality. And the reason I started organizing the Community Care Day is because of this woman right here. She was murdered. We all know who she is. I just always want to bring her into this space every time we can to remind ourselves that a community is only as safe as its most vulnerable community members. So we organized Community Care Day at the Siemens Lodge about a month ago, and it was a really beautiful event. We created a farm-to-table meal. It took 2.5 days to prepare for 200 people. We had clothing, shoes, backpacks, COVID care kits, 5 hairstylists that gave 50 haircuts, massage therapists that gave over 20 massages, acupuncturists that gave over 25 treatments. We had 4 child care providers, 2 face painters. It was truly like a healing sanctuary. It was a really beautiful space. It was all brought together by a team of many volunteers and wonderful service providers that brought that together. About a half hour into the event, a Nevada City police officer showed up and didn't inform us why he was there. And soon after, a Grass Valley police officer showed up, and they stormed into the space, only saying that they had a warrant, not disclosing any other information, pushing past people who were very concerned about keeping the space a healing sanctuary as people were receiving massage and acupuncture, and there was children. And the police officers proceeded to corner a food insecure man who was eating a meal, slamming him into the ground. His head hit a metal chair. The police officer put his leg into a joint lock and then laid his 200-pound body on him, causing him to scream out in pain and call for help. It was extremely traumatizing and terrorized the entire event. There was children and care providers sheltering in the bathroom. And I would just like to know how much money was spent, staking out our event. Like, how many hours led up to this? I was informed that they were aware of this person, they were planning on using our event. Like, how am I supposed to proceed? Like, if our events are going to be weaponized for violence, how do I organize? Are we targeting warming shelters? Are we targeting churches that are feeding people? I mean, I've had chronic migraine since this happened. Many other organizers and volunteers and providers have had health and mental health crises since this occurred. The pain is still happening. How many hours have you spent talking with people about this happen? Is that like approved by the budget? Like, is that how we want to do community policing? I really don't want to hear that word, community policing, ever again if the police chief is proud of how this went down. It was terrifying. And I really think everyone should be very concerned, and please take some action.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. There's some baklava in the back by the coffee that anyone is welcome to have. It's from Wally's Cafe in Rockland, which has been like my little sanctuary, and driving to Rockland to get baklava and have lunch there and just sit there and listen to Farouz and like be there is like all I really can do because our tax dollars are still funding genocide. And Israel is bombing Lebanon, and I'm just watching this happen, and I want to express to you guys my disappointment that after all of this process, that the resolution was just passed, even though so many of us came up and said, we want to do this in a good way. What about the language? Like, can we talk about this? Like, I wish that we had gotten to see kind of what I saw in Burbank, where it was workshopped, because what resulted is a document that doesn't mention the Arab American people in your community. And that is sitting with me in a really bad way, because you did acknowledge other communities, but then there's no acknowledgement of Palestinian community members, which there are, because I've spoken to you guys here. So I wanted to share the really special piece of my piece with you guys as like an offering with that, because I also feel like there's a disconnect with the people and the council. And I understand that you guys feel disenfranchised and or not disenfranchised, but you feel like these positions in the past have maybe been performative and that you can't make the amount of change that is being asked or energetically demanded, but you're in the positions. And so I just am trying to find a different way to share my feelings with you guys. And I was at the Community Care Day, and it was terrible. There's videos. It was so upsetting. I was arranging flowers in the back. I have PTSD, so I get a little bit overwhelmed by crowds. And so I was in the back arranging flowers, and I just heard violence. And children were hiding with caretakers in the bathroom. So it's really serious. And it was over a $400 vandalism charge. So how many people didn't get to eat that day? How many people left? I didn't eat, so one. And I'm an unhoused member of this community, or underhoused, technically. So this is a really serious issue because it's inhibiting our ability to take care of ourselves as a community. And I'm glad that there's Indigenous people return to their homelands. Congratulations. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen. I'm also here to echo what Libby and Olivia have shared. I'm one of the folks that helped organize what was going to be a really beautiful day. We had a really successful community care event in July, and I'm really concerned. I'm concerned for our community. None of us can be safe if the most marginalized of us are not safe. And I was in the back cooking the meal for the folks who came out on that day, and I heard the violence and came out and witnessed the Nevada City Police Department officer and the Grass Valley Police Department officer violently sitting on our participant and detaining him. It was truly horrifying and so inappropriate. And to find out later that it was over a vandalism charge the officers lied to us. He was not a violent felon, and even if he had been, it was putting the officers' actions that they were putting everybody in that space in danger. I have questions about how we can move forward. I want to see disciplinary action against these officers. And yeah, I'm extremely disheartened. What do we do? Like, how do we, as the world seems to crumble around us and like services are less and less funded and we're just trying to be there for each other, taking care of each other, like, how do we do that when, you know, we're in a police state? And I just can't. Please take accountability for this department. This isn't community policing. This was over the top. It was escalated. They didn't at all respond to de-escalation attempts by our organizers. And it was just so inappropriate, and I would like to continue having conversations around how we're supposed to give care to each other in a public way. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want to help create here, and I want your support in that. And yeah, we need to see something different. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, good evening. My name's Lindsay, and I just wanted to add something that hasn't been spoken to the impact of the event in the Community Care Day, is that a lot of our most underserved, most vulnerable and marginalized community members don't trust systems and services, and so it's so hard to actually get them the support that they need. So when a community organized event is created and it's known for being a safe space like it was in July, people will come and they will get support and they will get connection and they will get what they need. But if that trust is compromised and those events turn into something that people don't feel comfortable going to, then they're just not going to get services or support or community connection. And so it's actually like completely, what's the word? Jeopardizing the effectiveness of these gatherings. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, thank you for your comments. We will move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Before we take action on the consent agenda, we will hear any public comment on consent calendar items only. Do we have any public comment on a consent item? All right, seeing none. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilmember Fernandez and seconded by Vice Mayor Klein. And any objections to the motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, move to the business agenda. And consideration of an update on grant application and solicitations for the city, and authorizing the annual renewal of a grant writing services contract with California Consulting. And I believe we're going to hear from Steve. How lucky we are to hear from you again, Steve.
Yes and no.
He sounds like he was a little over the top.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. So if you may recall, on October 4th of 2023, the City Council approved a professional services agreement with California Consulting for on-call grant services in an amount not to exceed $42,000 for the period of November 1st of 2023 through October 31st of 2024. So over the past year, California Consulting has provided grant writing assistance to the city, and you'll see in our presentation here very shortly that we have received 2 grant awards based upon their efforts. There are 4 grants that are out for decision, if you will. And there are other grants that are currently being worked on. So as I mentioned, I will get to that. What staff is requesting, based upon the work product of California Consulting, is a contract amendment for an additional one-year extension with a 5.7% increase, which is roughly about $2,400 year over year for continued grant services, which will help the city here be competitive when notices of funding opportunities, also called NOFOs, are announced over the upcoming 12 months. So with that, if I may, I'll take you through the grants that California Consulting has helped us with. I believe we also have Steve Samuelian from California Consulting joining us by Zoom as well. He's the president and CEO of California Consulting.
The man himself.
Never does.
It worked for Shelley.
Yeah, Shelley had
Work for
the
her.
touch.
She just waved it everywhere though. It's like, I know where to plug this.
Is it working?
Yeah, that's it. I'm there.
Can you go back to the 2.5? There we go.
There you go, Steve.
Okay.
It's okay?
I'll try here.
I'll wait for 5 minutes, see if he does.
So we, as I mentioned a little earlier, I think we had 2 grants that have been awarded to the city that were prepared by California Consulting. The sum total of that is $400,000. So the first one is the from Cal Volunteers. It's known colloquially here at the city as the Neighbors to Neighbors grant. That amount was about $250,000. The date awarded was March 1st. And the purpose of that grant is to organize neighbor-to-neighbor activities in 4 neighborhoods. 2 of those neighborhoods are designated as Firewise neighborhoods and 2 are non-Firewise neighborhoods. And this grant will also allow us to hold approximately 28 training or volunteer community engagement events over the course of the next 22 months. So this grant is about a 2-year grant, just short of that. There we go, okay. The Representative Kiley fiscal year 2025 appropriation, that amount was awarded for $150,000. That was awarded on March 29th of 2024. And the purpose of this grant really is to replace all of the police department portable radio equipment, including all of the handheld radios and the vehicle-equipped radios. And as Chief Foss can attest to, every month we're always talking about public safety grants. Those are big right now, and Chief Foss is always trying to find things to improve public safety. So he's doing a great job there. All of your staff are. All right, so grants that are currently in the submission process. Urban and Community Forestry Grant, that's again about $250,000. That was submitted on May 30th. And the purpose of that grant was to create a long-term urban forest management plan, which will update and replace the city's 20-year-old outdated tree ordinance. We've got some additional information on that grant, but that's pretty cumbersome right now, so we can provide you an update under separate cover there. We also are currently awaiting word on the Department of Justice body-worn camera program. We're looking for about $32,000 there. That was submitted on the 23rd of July. And this grant's going to replace all of the city's body-worn cameras. So again, none of this is general fund money, and so far none of these require a general fund match. Youth Access Grant is another one that is in the works, or we're awaiting word on. That's just shy of $500,000, and that was submitted on August 14th. And the purpose of this one is for a green workforce development program.
Can you say more about that?
I can say a little bit more about that. And has Steve or any of his, he's in there as well?
Or Evan's here, he can share too.
But I can,
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Erlinson. It's Samantha D'Ambrosio from California Consulting here to represent.
Who's that?
So I hope you can hear me. Samantha D'Ambrosio from California Consulting here to answer any questions or fill in any information that you need me to.
It's not that, it's not that.
No, it's
Coming from somewhere else.
She's just quiet.
Coming from somewhere.
No, it's the speakers.
Samantha, do you have the particulars on that program?
Just let Evan.
Yeah,
Evan's
sure.
got it.
Sorry, it seems great. I would love to know more.
Yeah, no, definitely. We basically put in for a grant to create a couple positions that would be kind of in two cohorts. So there would be 4 in 1 year and then 4 in another year. All the positions would be more so focused towards either parks or wildfire prevention activities, things like that. And then also purchase a clean air vehicle. So it'd be like a work van where we can transport folks. And it would be
Nice. What's
nice.
the youth piece?
It has to be folks from like 16 to 26 in that range.
Got it, in those roles?
Yes, correct.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Evan.
And that's how it works. Steve coordinates these meetings monthly, sometimes weekly, and along with California Consulting, and all the departments chime in on these grants and which ones we're going to apply for. And so while Steve is shepherding the process, the individual departments are, putting in the work along with the California Consulting team. So
That makes sense.
Evan's always passionate about everything he does, but we have a lot of grants that we evaluate that don't seem to be the right fit. But these are the ones that we've so far proceeded through, and Steve will share you the rest. But just as a side note, while I'm talking, is we came across a bad timing realistically for when we onboarded California Consulting last year. We missed the window for many of the FEMA and CAL FIRE grants. The local hazard mitigation plan update for the county and for specifically the city university will be before you next month. With that in hand and approved by FEMA, we'll be eligible to apply for this next round of FEMA and CAL FIRE grants that California Consulting will be very instrumental in helping us with.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Steve.
So Safe Streets for All, that grant has a potential award amount of $300,000. That was submitted at the end of August. And the purpose of this one is for the city to develop a safety action plan, which I don't believe we currently have.
Can I chime in on that?
Yes.
So you need the safety action plan to apply for additional
grants.
funding
That's
from
correct.
them. So, and we also need a safety action plan, but that opens the door to implementation
Future.
dollars and a lot more money. So it's good that we have that in place. So that would be fantastic.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Is anyone able to speak to what a safety action plan is?
This is multimodal transportation, pedestrians, vehicles, trains in our case, as well. And so in a community
real
like,
trains.
in many communities, you have the unfortunate opportunity to have a lot of data on traffic and underage drinking and accidents and fatal vehicle versus pedestrians and the like, and we have very little of that, thankfully. But everyone that lives here knows that we do have pockets of speeding and intersections that are less safe than others, and places that could use crosswalks or not use crosswalks. This builds a Nevada City-specific plan that will create projects that we can then specifically apply for that we couldn't do today because the data doesn't support the projects without such a plan.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
It just doesn't want to work.
It just doesn't want to work.
Bang it on the table.
I let it go. I didn't say anything.
Percussive
You just was
maintenance.
checking to get information. I have my
I
own
thought he was
questions, but
conducting
I'm waiting
the
till the end.
Right?
Got it.
But I get it.
This one?
It's just clarification as it's happening. Big questions, I think.
So this grant, which we have in the development process, and this is an ongoing deadline, so the deadline isn't fixed. Pretty much relates to drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater projects. So mostly our enterprise utilities here, water and wastewater. So we're in the midst of working with California Consulting right now, Brian and I, to try to figure out, based upon our 5-year CIP that the council has seen and adopted, how are we going to fund a lot of these projects that are in the pipeline and should be completed over the next few years. There's also a Water Smart grant program. So in this case, this is a kind of a hefty lift for the city. We can receive an amount up to $5 million, but it does require a 50% match. So we'd have to figure out how we would meet that match. The deadline to apply for this program is November 13th. Again, Brian and I and other city staff are working on this as well. But the purpose really of this grant is to conserve and use water more efficiently, increase the production of hydropower, and mitigate conflict risk in areas at high risk of future water conflict, and to accomplish other benefits that contribute to water supply reliability in the western United States. So this one this grant is related to, or relegated to, I should say, the western portion of the United States. Thank you. So we are actually looking into a competitive CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant Program. I do have a meeting with our CDBG representative in California Consulting on Monday related to this. And we're looking at a $300,000 potential cap grant here. OTC grants, these are up to $3.3 million. So there are public service grants and OTC grants depending on what the project is. There's a cap.
OTC is over the counter.
Over the counter, yes, that's correct. Housing and economic development programs, we can receive up to $1.5 million. The deadline is December 30th. So staff on Monday, as I mentioned, is going to be meeting with the CDBG representative to talk about what the potential projects could be here in the city, based upon information that City Manager Grayson and I have talked about. But again, the purpose of this program, CDBG, is to fund projects that provide decent, affordable housing, to create suitable living environments, and to ultimately expand economic opportunities.
Aren't they?
Not even for you now?
No, there we go.
There we go. Okay. Another one that we're looking into is a cannabis equity grant. And again, the dollar amounts here are going to vary. The deadline is mid-December. And the purpose of this grant is to advance economic justice for individuals that have been harmed by cannabis criminalization and poverty, and to also promote equity and eliminate barriers to entry in the newly regulated cannabis industry. So staff and I do have a meeting scheduled for mid-November to look into the cannabis equity grant and what opportunities may present themselves here for us and the community as well.
And that one specifically would be direct funding to our licensed cannabis businesses, so it's not money that the city would get. We would be the shepherd of it, so to speak. But this is the cannabis equity assessment and program that you approved last year would allow us to take these funds and administer it through that program, whether it be forgivable loans, direct grants, incentivizing the expansion of businesses, pay for fees, things like that. So I'm sure any of our businesses would like to pay less fees, but this one would be specific to them.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
That one?
So with that, we ask that you received this evening's presentation, and based upon California Consulting's efforts and their efforts going forward, that you approve amendment number 1 to the California Consulting agreement. And with that, I will take any questions that you may have, council. Thank you.
Questions? Cece.
Exhibit A of the original agreement says that there are monthly reports required by the contract by California Consulting. Are these reports available to the public to view?
We could certainly post these reports, These reports are presented to us during our monthly meetings. They're status reports, but I don't see why they wouldn't be available to the public. I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't be. So we can,
Yeah, in the interests of transparency, I would like to make them available to the public, if that's legal.
we can certainly.
They're public record, yeah.
Yeah, they are public record, that's correct.
Thank you.
They might have to be, edited a little.
Others, Councilmember Fleming?
Oh, sure, sorry. First of all, let me just say that this is so exciting for me as a grant writer. I think the first week I was here, I went into the then city manager and said, what are we doing about grants? And I didn't get much, and then and I ended up writing a few grants pro bono because, I can't get paid, which is fine, and it is great, but, I was really, waiting to see the results of this effort because, California Consulting is just an amazing organization. They are, the biggest grant writing organization in the state, but there are mixed reviews on some of their performance. And I've talked to people in various cities, but Steve had a good experience with them, and I've talked to a few other people who had a good experience with him. And the results of this are, if we just want to look at it from an ROI perspective, are more than paying for itself. And I'm very hopeful that some of these other grants that we're working on will come through. I really, just love that we're going after CDBG money again. That is really, smart, and nobody could talk to me about that in the previous administration, so I'm glad that we're going after that. There may be some, as far as the water reclamation grant, there may be some other grants that we can, and I don't know if they apply to this, we'd have to look. I'm sure California Consulting folks know about it, but that will pay for the match. There are grants out there that the state of California has that will cover a match in some cases. So we should look at that just so we could get some of that money, because that's a big chunk of money that we could use for our water issues. One of the things I'd like us to see is maybe, the public can see the reports, but I'd love it if you would, send them to us as well, or at least me. I don't know if you guys want them too. I'd like to see what's going on, because you guys have great meetings with these guys. I've seen some of the reports that they produce, and they're really, really helpful for us. I'd also like to understand a little bit more about what we're doing with the Safe Streets for All, what the actual plan is for the projects once we get that funding, because we probably will. Those the planning grants are not as competitive as the implementation grants in that bucket, and we're just asking for $300,000, and that's not a huge amount. But I'm just really, really so pleasantly pleased with this result, and just seeing this, that we have the potential to bring in millions of dollars now with this with an organized structure, and I think that's just awesome. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, California Consulting.
In the ether.
If I may?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I asked most of my questions during. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing that. That's just kind of how my brain works, so I appreciate multiple ways of engaging. I remember the conversation we had, Doug, when this came to us the first time, the contract with California Consulting, and I remember your feedback and cautious excitement, potential concern, and I appreciate you commenting on that again, because I agree. There's coming around to see that it's been really great. I think there's a wide range. I love the range of grants here. It's really exciting to have like youth grants and transportation safety, and then stuff that I don't fully even understand. So yeah, just really appreciate that and excited for more.
Here, Councilmember. Vice Mayor.
What I appreciate is we're not just spending this money and then some grants are coming in and it's like, oh, we got that one, so we got to think of a way to spend it and make it relevant to us. The grants that have been given to us are all in areas that we've stated are priorities. So that absolutely makes it worth it. Anything that keeps Evan busy is the city's on board with, right? So I really appreciate that, and it seems absolutely worthwhile to go for another year.
We do also hope that Evan has a good work-life balance.
Yeah, look, that's the happiest guy in town.
He has a partner that insists on that balance.
Oh, fantastic.
I was one of the skeptics and remain so, given past history. And I look at the amount of grants that are out there and the amount of grants that we've received. We've received 2 grants.
In 6 months.
In 6 months. I am supporting this, Doug. I am not here to argue about your point of view on this. I'm here to share mine.
arguing. Who's arguing?
I'm going to go ahead and continue my comments, and I'm going to make them. And I will support
ahead.
this. I will support this because it does appear as though it's working out. I have spoken. My concern was who writes the grants, because the amount of time that's spent, as you know, it goes into the grant writing. And my experience was that frequently with this organization in a previous life that I had, we were directed to the grants, and that's what we got. And then we had to create them ourselves, which is the real lift, especially when you're working with a small organization.
You can't write grants you don't know exist.
Well, I'm not arguing that. Do I have to argue with you? Do I get to make comments here?
No one's arguing.
Nobody's arguing.
I did
All
not.
facts.
All right, excuse me. I did not interrupt your comments. I would ask for the same. I'm going to complete my thoughts here. But I have checked in on these grants. They are carefully targeted grants. They are good for us, and they're working. I would love to see the CDBG pipeline get open, because once you open that, it keeps rolling and rolling if you stay on it. I think that could be extremely beneficial to us in many ways, and all the other grants. So I will support this without question, but I will remain my skeptical self, given my own history.
And you are 1 vote, so let's vote.
And just one additional thing for the benefit of those at home. This is just a piece of our grant approach. So we also work with the county extensively to include Nevada City concerns and our legislative platform in the grants that they write. So that there's often a piece of the grant that is going to come to Nevada City. They just recently submitted one that will include trail-related assets, parking lots, including expansion of our Sugarloaf Trail and eventually connection to the Pines to Mines project. So there's that piece, and then for those at home, they'll be seeing Lon Peterson, our new assistant city manager, on camera at the next meeting, but he is in the back of the room, and extensive legislative affairs and intergovernmental relations experience, and he will be that next level, that piece that connects this council to our state and federal partners, and both the earmarks and direct budget allocations that can come. So multifaceted approach to grants as we move forward.
Which only makes sense. It really does. And I would close my comments by saying the neighbor-to-neighbor grant makes it all worthwhile. So I'm definitely there on that.
So it's funny because I write grants for Nevada County, and I can get paid for the right grants for them, right?
Let's go back and check that.
It's not on the agenda. No, but I'm just saying that the grants that we're working on for the county are ones that benefit us as well. I'm working on Pines to Mines, I did Sugarloaf, and so, it all is all connected, and I'm just happy that the grant gravy train is stopping at our house.
Yes, I am too. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the extension.
I so move.
Second?
You think?
Moved by Councilmember Cece, seconded by Vice Mayor Klein.
Something's going on today.
Councilmember Cece.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming. Councilmember Fernandez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Klein.
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
With reservations.
It's
I can have
for and
reservations.
You said you did.
Those were your words.
Those are your exact
Thank you,
words.
Steve.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mayor.
Steve.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Steve.
it always. Thank you thank you from California Consulting, whoever that voice was that came from the ether. All right.
Thank you all.
So, speaking of our heaping our praise on Evan, it looks like he might be up here, or is it, we're going to get double teamed on this one. So, consideration of participation in the Community Planning Assistance for Wildfire, CPA, program through an agreement with Headwaters Economics. There's 2 of you. Go forth.
Thank you, council, for having us here. This item actually follows really well with that last item, because in our pursuits of these grants, we kind of stumbled upon this organization called Headwater Economics. They have a certain program called Community Planning Assistance for Wildfire, which they do completely free of cost because they get U.S. Forest Service funds to do this type of work. There's such a need for this work, as we know. And the city is really at a point right now with our planning documents, the CWPP, the Hazard Mitigation Plan, the Fire Safety Advisory Committee's Fire Mitigation and Prevention Plan, where there's a lot of different planning documents, a lot of movement on the city front in wildfire prevention, and this organization will really compound those efforts and make sure that those documents are really effective and have the pieces that we really need. So with that, we've been collaborating, me and Lisa here, the city planner. Do you have anything to add before we introduce our representative from this organization?
Yeah, I'll just add that when we spoke to Doug Green, he gave us the interpretation that the support that the organization will give is not intended to create a bunch of work for us, but rather to create actionable results. And so from what I understand, they're also going to be looking closely at the zoning ordinance and looking at landscaping, things that we have in our code, other things related to the WUI and any potential like building department specifics and related to buildings, and then provide recommendations for us to improve our zoning code in relation to making structures more hardened and improving our ordinances in relation to wildfire.
And so with that, they really look for, I'll let Doug Green, our representative from this organization, speak in a second, but they're really looking for a nexus to the Forest Service property and land, and then also cities that are kind of moving in this space that have these planning documents kind of in the works, and then also just collaboration between different departments, which is really nice because we all are right around the corner from each other. So very beneficial, and I will introduce Doug Green with Headwater Economics, if you want to share a little bit about the program and organization.
Sure. Thanks, Evan. You guys can hear me okay?
Yep.
Thanks, Evan and Lisa. Well, you guys did a pretty good job actually going over what we do. So again, my name's Doug Green. I'm actually up here in Bend, Oregon. My background's land use planner for a while, and then I spent 25 years with the City of Bend Fire Department as a structural firefighter up here before I started working with Headwaters Economics and the CPAW program. So the CPAW program, the Community Planning Assistance for Wildfire program, is managed by Headwaters Economics, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan think tank organization out of Bozeman, Montana, that looks at really high-level issues facing communities. It's wildfire, flooding, open space, planning, economics, etc. And so the CPAW program is that wildfire piece underneath Headwaters Economics. As Lisa said, when we work for communities, there is no cost to the community. We are funded 100% by the Forest Service right now. And so everything we do is free to the community, which is pretty nice. Really, historically, the CPAW program looked at dealing with the wildfire risk to communities through the lens of land use planning. And that was our model for a number of years. We still do that, but we also have expanded that. And I think, as both Lisa and Evan said, we look at making sure that planning documents and, oh great, I see myself on the other screen. That's challenging. We look at planning documents, and we also make sure everything aligns with fire department's vision and goals for the community. Alignment with CWPP is alignment with hazard mitigation plans. We really dive into all the documents, all community plans within a community, and just try to find opportunities and obstacles where we can recommend changes to make that community more resilient to wildfire. We also offer communication strategies. We have worked in communities where we've presented brochures or handouts with wildfire strategies, or how to build homes better or retrofit, things like that communities may need. We do a lot of research at the community level all the way up to testifying in Washington, D.C. on things communities need. We help communities get grants. I know before this there was a long discussion on grants and grant writing. We have a grant writer on staff also that helps communities get what's called a CWDG grant, with which your fire professionals there may be familiar with. And the third round of that's coming up here next month. And so we really look at anything we can do to help those communities reduce that risk. And like Lisa said, we try to make it so, first of all, there is no additional workload on staff, because most of the communities we work in, that's one of the issues, is capacity. And we've worked in 80 plus communities across the country so far, from LA and San Diego down to small communities in eastern Montana and Florida and Minnesota. So we know there's a lot of different tools in the toolbox for what works for communities, but our goal is really to pull together the key stakeholders, which is usually the folks in the planning department, city council members, fire department leadership, find out what is important to them and how they see the future of that community. And then again, provide recommendations to that small group of stakeholders that we feel, especially as Lisa had stated, when there's some maybe opportunities coming up in the near future with updates to community documents, we can add language, maybe some suggestions in there to make Nevada City reduce the risk of wildfire to Nevada City and the surrounding community. Anything I'm missing there, Evan?
No, that sounds great. Thank you so much. You might want to hang on. There might be some questions from the council.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Appreciate it. So with that, really, like I said, I think it's really the right time, right place to bring on these folks that, as you can tell, have a really interesting perspective, as they've worked in a lot of communities that are different, similar, some of the both, across the country. So it really provides a really unique perspective. And as Lisa and I have met with Doug, we kind of got to get pieces of that. And it does seem quite beneficial as we move forward with all of our wildfire prevention initiatives. Happy to take any questions and comments.
Really exciting.
Yeah, and if I can add something, Evan, real quick.
Yeah, please.
Sorry to interrupt. It just so council's kind of familiar with the process, we usually go into a community. It's usually for at least a year, if not longer. And we'll do site visits to the community to make sure we understand not only the stakeholders, but the environment and the risks that are there. And again, I think what's really important is not only do we provide those recommendations, but we have the resources and the capacity to stick around and help Evan, Lisa, and the other staff implement those recommendations as we move forward. So we're not, our goal, especially when I worked for the fire department and we had similar type work done, we ended up with this great document that sat on the shelf because we didn't have the time or the capacity to even start implementing those things. So, our goal is to not only provide those recommendations, but to stick around and help you guys implement what we can and how we can to make sure, those are actionable items.
Thank you. So, comments, questions?
Do you have experience with dealing with towns as small as ours?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we've dealt with large and tiny communities throughout California, throughout the country. So, yep, we've worked in small communities. I've told Evan this every time I meet with him. It's impressive where you guys are when it comes to wildfire awareness and mitigation and funding. I don't know if I've worked in a town your size that has actually funded a position like Evan's and has been as proactive, which is super exciting. But yep, we've worked in communities smaller than yours. We understand the challenges and opportunities of small communities. And like I said, we like to work in small communities because that's where the Forest Service would like us to work, because that's where the help is really needed. Large communities get, as you talked about before, get lots of grants, have lots of funds, and we try to work in communities where we can make a difference to the staff that's there.
Rearrange plug out.
Thank you.
Set that up, Evan?
Sorry.
I looked through the Mariposa County document that was included in our packet, which was exhaustive and just,
Impressive.
yeah, super impressive, lots of information, and the idea of having a document like that for us is really exciting. I think people really dig into it, and really actionable items coming out of it for how we can, as impressive as we are, be more impressive still. Maybe get 2 Evans.
Wow, there's only one Evan. There's only one Evan.
Thank you.
If that second Evan could be a female Evan, I'd greatly appreciate that. I'm sure Lisa would too.
We have Camille.
Gabby.
Yeah, hi Doug, another Doug here. Love your work. I'm really excited that you guys are helping us out. This is just an amazing resource. And the fact that it's free of charge and you know, funded by the Forest Service is wonderful. Now, let me just clarify, you only work with jurisdictions that are, proximate to National Forest Service land. Is that basically it?
No, that's, we primarily do, but we also work in any community where, like I said, we've done work over in Florida, on the East Coast, where they are not near necessarily public lands, but they have a high wildfire risk and have very little experience with not only wildfire, but land use codes in a lot of those communities are very sparse. And so trying to come up with solutions for some of those groups and communities. So we do work a lot, obviously, in the Rockies, Sierras, and Cascades, because there's obviously a huge wildfire risk there. But we do work in communities where we are, and a lot of tribal communities in South Dakota, North Dakota that are not necessarily right next to public forest.
Are you doing any work with Nevada County? Because a lot of times, there's a lot of synergy between what we're doing and they're doing, especially when it comes to fire.
Yeah, we are not currently, although Evan and I have talked about.
Nevada County.
Yeah, talked about the potential for that and this is what works, as you said, the synergy works really well. If we can find some solutions for a community or a fire district or something in a certain area and show the surrounding county, neighboring counties, et cetera, that it works, then we can kind of help expand that because as you guys know and everyone knows, fire does not stop at boundaries. And so anything we can do to expand what we're doing, even if it may not be the exact same recommendations, a lot of times counties will be a little less restrictive than smaller communities, but if we can get them on board with parts of it to make the alignment work, it just not only is safer wildfire wise, but it just makes planning everything a lot easier if everything aligns from the county down.
Sure. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Fair comment on that, Ed?
Yeah, Alex Keeble-Toll with County OES does sit on our Fire Safety Advisory Committee, and usually we always try to keep them appraised exactly of what we're doing. I've had conversations with her about this program and things, and I think us kind of setting the stage is a really good way to go about it.
Once they see what they do for us, they'll do it.
Well, they're doing a lot. They are doing a lot. But this is a great way to create that exchange and partnership.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's like this.
First, I'd like to say to my colleagues, please don't snicker at my request for gender parity on the council. And second of all, I think, but you did. Some of the biggest issues of our time, fire being perhaps the most, I'm also thinking of homelessness too. Like, we can't get too many ideas, too much help. And so I love that this is happening. I love that we're strengthening our fire resiliency. And I'm excited for this. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. The first, and thank you, Lisa, for finding this and for your work. And it was Evan. I heard it was you, but thank both of you for your diligent work. And because it's an important piece of work. This is how I understand it, Doug. I mean, we set up a lot of stuff really fast. We've been really moving. And as one of the examples I use is we just recently tried to overhaul plug your ears, Dean, a nuisance ordinance. But we had people in our fire safe advisory committee that we have, our local committee, that thought that they should be able to comment on that because it touched on fire, as so many of our ordinances do. And we've layering in all of these new plans really quick, and the need for alignment in our documentation, in our processes, in our ordinances. And I personally, in my bias, think that, they should be focused towards fire prevention and education, but there needs to be more alignment than what we're currently living with because of the way we've set things up so fast. And looking at the Mariposa plan, which was really well done, I see that happens, is that, we get an analysis of that. Because one of the other things I think that's really important that will come out of this conversation is what I sort of refer to as the preservation versus preservation, where we have Nevada City, we are known for our historically preserved gold mining town. But at the same time, and people, we spend a lot of time protecting that. We have ordinances for that. But at the same time, when we look at a building go down, we need to be able to come in with the new materials, the hardening and stuff. And currently, our ordinances would not allow for that to happen. So that's a big conversation for us. And I think that this document and this path forward will really support us in that work. So I look forward to working with you on this. And yes, we are a small town, but we're a really cool small town. So you'll like it here. Thank you. So do we need to approve this? What are we out
You
there?
want public comment?
Oh, yeah, public comment. Public comment. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Seeing none. All right, so this is presented by, and we were considering this, right? So I think you got direction that this is, do we need to approve something here?
I move that we approve the participation in the program and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
I second that.
Oh, it's being done.
Yeah, I'm right there with
Okay,
you.
so thank you. Moved by Vice Mayor Klein and seconded by Councilmember Fleming.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Excuse me?
Oh, my God.
See, I haven't blown it yet.
Councilmember Fleming? I
Yes,
didn't even-
yes.
Woo! Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Klein?
Yes, Gabby.
And Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Tough room.
We're adapting, Doug. We've recently
Wow.
changed offices, and we're working through
Thank you
this.
for being with us, Doug.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Doug.
thank you very much. Look forward to this.
Thank you, council.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys, quite a
Thanks,
bit.
guys.
This is very exciting. All right.
It's challenging, staring at oneself on Zoom, it's very challenging.
It's weird. It's
Only
really
him and I
weird.
saw it, and I'm like, what? Yeah.
So, okay, so consideration of the purchase of a new 2024 F-150 STX Crew Cab V8 truck from Folsom Ford in an amount not to exceed $56,919 for the city's water, wastewater department. Brian McAllister, you're up.
Thank you. Hello, good evening. The water wastewater department crew has a truck that's in need of replacement. It has over 200,000 miles and it needs very costly repairs. So we've looked at replacing the same truck. This would be a crew cab, which would allow the staff to go back and forth between the plants and carry their tools and equipment. And so it'd be something in use every day, just for continued maintenance and operation of both plants. And we got quite a few quotes. We actually looked at different models as well, and ultimately selected just a replacement of the same exact.
Is it four-wheel drive?
No, is it? I don't know. I don't
Correct,
think
it's two-wheel drive.
Yeah, two-wheel drive. V8.
The public works trucks are traditionally diesel and four-wheel drive, and then the water wastewater are two-wheel drive but with crew cab.
Nice.
Does that mean that there's like a second row?
Four doors, yep.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, continue, please.
Yeah, so we just, we have the rolling stock replacement program in the annual budget. So, so this is part of that appropriation, capital funds.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Oh, public comment? Seeing none?
I just think that we have a 200,000 mile, truck that needs to be replaced, obviously. So they've been doing a lot with less. And so there's, no scenario that I see that we shouldn't do this. So thank you for bringing this to us, Brian.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the purchase.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cece, seconded by Councilmember Fernandez.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes, ma'am.
And Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Klein?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so we're going to sit right there and move to item number 9, consideration of 1, award of contract with MK & Sons in an amount not to exceed $1,194,463 for the Public Works Storage Building Project. 2, authorize a project contingency of 10% not to exceed $119,446. And authorize the city manager to execute any contracts or related documents.
Thank you. This building collapsed during snowstorm late December of 2021, and we had it listed on our list of buildings that are insured. Filed a claim with the city's insurance company. We actually also talked to Cal OES because that storm was. There was a proclamation by the governor, so there's eligibility for storm-related assistance, but since this was an insured building, they suggested work with the insurance company first. And so we intend to build the same structure, same size, configuration, and location, but to current building code requirements. And we bid this project late last year, and the bids came in higher than expected. And then we had received some funds from the insurance company, like they gave us a preliminary amount based on like-for-like replacement without code upgrades, and the cost difference was substantial for the code upgrades. And so we just had to spend some more time analyzing the code upgrades and going back and forth with insurance, and that's we came to council in March, and you directed us to reject all bids and re-advertise the project. So we've spent some time making changes to the plans to try to reduce the cost, and the low bid now is about $200,000 less than the previous bid. So we're recommending award to MK & Sons.
Questions? Public comment? Questions?
I did have a question. There are 2 columns in the bid. Could you explain why?
The base bid is insurance. It's all replacement of the same exact configuration of building. The alternates are some things that the previous building didn't have that would add storage to both underneath the building and a mezzanine in the upper level of the back part of the storage barn area. So that's what that. So we segregated that cost so that we could see it separately.
But is the bid for the total of the 2 columns?
Yeah, we're recommending that both be awarded because the alternate came in at a pretty good price.
Okay. That was all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's like 1880s. It's the old mill building there, so there's some upgrades to usability over the last 150 years that will be make our public works crew a little more efficient out there. So that $79,000 would probably cost us 4 times that amount if we were to go out to bid on separately, not related to the whole project. So Brian did a great job of really whittling that into something usable for this bid.
Well done, Brian.
Can I?
Yes, sir.
This is critical infrastructure. Of course, we need to replace it. Can you explain the financing? Because I was trying to understand it a little bit better. How much is the insurance company paying, and how much are we on the hook for?
Thank you. That's exactly where I am.
Yeah. I just want to make that clear for everybody.
Well, we already received $321,000.
Yep.
And that was based on just a like-for-like replacement, which they acknowledged that wouldn't be enough for code-required upgrades. So the insurance company told us, and it assured us before we went to bid that this set of plans that we had approved by the county building department with all of its code upgrades would be covered by insurance. So
it will be covered?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if this gets awarded tonight, we'll immediately send it to them.
And then?
Before giving the notice to proceed.
So the $79,000 is funded out of the city, because that's additional. And then of the total, we back out the $300,000 that they've already paid us, that we already have. That also does include contribution for 2 vehicles that were crushed in the storm, one of which was replaced and one of which we didn't replace because it was of very little value. So it's a kind of de minimis amount, like $15,000 in there or something like that. So the total is everything we're going to pay them, back out the $300,000 that we already got, and a little bit of $15,000 or so that pays for the vehicles. And then the $79,000 is paying out of the general fund.
And that budget was budgeted this year for that amount?
Which part?
The $79,000?
Coming out of the existing facilities budget, yeah.
Okay, out of the facilities budget, okay, all right.
Great work in getting this down, because when you came to us last time, it was, $200,000 more?
Mm-hmm.
So really nice work in making this work a little bit better, making it pencil out a little bit better.
Yeah, great.
Public
Steve was here.
Public Works has got to be the most popular part of Nevada city government, so, give them whatever they need. Crying out loud. Is this building going to be snowproof in any way?
It's going to have a flat roof.
Yeah, it'll be much better. It'll be fully enclosed.
Harder to crush.
Trying not to answer that.
It was just a joke.
No,
anyways,
it's too.
right?
It's
No,
apparent snow loads
I
and
had a
all that.
vehicle crushed in that same storm.
Oh,
I
you
was driving it at the time, and a tree fell on the car. That's a true
No.
thing before you knew me.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know you were driving.
the car was moving, and a tree fell on us. Anyway,
What are
terrifying.
the chances?
Insurance covered that, thankfully. The good thing was I was rescuing a dog who hates me. Yeah. So this will take
Dogs
a
know.
larger snow load than the last one did not take.
Yeah, the building code has all the snow load requirements for our
Right.
area. Yeah, it meets all the current codes.
Good, because I can't be buying you a building every year, Brian. I just can't do it. Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Looking for a motion.
I move we award the contracts, authorize the contingency, and authorize the city manager to execute related documents.
Second.
Nicely done, Vice Mayor.
You can
Moved
read.
by,
Well done. Wow. Good job, Adam. You can read.
no, he was complete. Often
Yeah,
we
it's
don't
written
get
right
that.
there in front of
Even
us.
Dean turned his head at that one, so. And a second by, who seconded that? I lost track.
I'll second it.
Who knows? It was
I think-
only the woman
I
at
think
the
it was-
table.
Yeah.
Councilmember Cece.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yep.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Sure.
Vice Mayor Klein.
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we only have one more item.
Maybe we do a quick.
Oh, do we want a bio break?
Please.
Bio break? Bio break.
Thank you.
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
It's time.
Big.
Number 10, consideration of an update. So we're going to consider an update on the Nevada Street Bridge replacement project.
And consider.
Yeah. So, Brian, go forth.
Thanks. So we gave our last update, I think in August. And so I won't go through the whole background that's in the staff report, but we've written up some of this in the newsletter that'll go out this week as well. But we just want to give an update, particularly as we get toward the end of the construction season. I mean, the construction will continue through the winter, but I just want to explain where we're at, what got accomplished, and what's left to do. So, so we'll just run through some pictures. We did the bridge demo. We were able to start that before we could work in the creek. And then as soon as we were able to get into the creek, we did the creek diversion pipes that you see in the picture. And tremendous amount of work was done just on the shoring and the foundations, because it goes up to 30 feet below stream bed to the tip elevations of the foundations.
Wow.
And so just this week they pulled out the last of the shoring, and but that shoring took a lot of time to put in. It comes out so quick when you're done. And then all the foundation work was being done through the end of August, and then we started doing the walls and the bridge, the deck of the bridge. Some of this is reiterated from our last update, but there's Bill when the beams were being laid across the two abutments to make the forms for the deck, and then concurrently there's rock facing being done on the walls.
It's really nice.
All of that rock is salvaged from the old big blocks. We broke them into small pieces and reused all the rock for facing.
Nothing blew out.
That's how we broke it.
And then this is the deck reinforcement with all the epoxy coated steel. And here's the steel truss. One was delivered today, and the other one will be delivered tomorrow.
Great. Yeah.
So there's a photo of the completed bridge deck, and it's rather thin. It's like 10 inches, but it has 2 feet deep grade beams with post-tension cables. Yeah, tons of steel. And then that 2 foot thick grade beam has all kinds of bolts that come up and connect to the steel truss, because the truss is part of the design, takes the live load of trucks and vehicles crossing over.
Do you want me to go back to Annie, or are you good?
No, I'm good. So, yeah, I just wanted to explain that even with some of the delays from weather and the foundations with soil conditions and everything, the crew's been able to make up some of that time. And we had anticipated having the bridge open November 1st. Now it's looking like it would be before Thanksgiving. We'll have.
I've been telling everybody, Brian. You told me before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and so we'll have it open for traffic, but there's more work to be done on each end. So there's going to be lane closures and occasional detours during the workday. But we've asked the contractor to have it open, available for the public. And the parking lot on the Nevada Street side is the yard area. There's also a sewer line relocation needed in that area. That will not be done until spring because of the work that's left to do, and then the paving. We're pushing into the time frame when we can't pave. The temperatures aren't going to be adequate to do paving, so we're asking the contractor to make as much of that parking available through the winter, like make it available because it has existing pavement, and make as much available as you can, and then we'll work towards finishing that in the spring. So we've had lots of community support, super appreciative of that. There's always people down there asking questions, and
Should have put up bleachers and sold tickets.
It surpassed the painted sign on the front of the National Hotel as the most photographed thing in Nevada City for the last month.
Wow.
On Google metrics.
Have you been getting, the issue with the dust and all that? I know that was raised by some of our community members. Is that still being dealt with, and do you think it's being managed effectively?
yeah, we took that really seriously, and the contractor implemented a plan, and they're still at it, like making sure they're doing more sweeping, keeping water down so that things don't get too dry and dusty.
Nice.
After they did do it. After they dusted out the restaurant. Then they did.
Oh, they didn't dust out their restaurant.
They did.
They did. They did.
They
You haven't seen those pictures?
What, it got hit?
Oh, man.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see any pictures.
They had to refund people's meals.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so that was a
And
big.
then after that, they paid.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
they were prepping the concrete for the next pour, and with high pressure, and it created quite a bit of dust. And they changed their methods on the next time.
I've been watching, and they then began to keep the dirt inside the job project. They swept up,
Did we have to do anything with the restaurant?
They are going out of business. They're
already out of
closing,
business,
but-
yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was, I don't know how we handled it, but there was a reimbursement for meals and stuff that.
Dan and I, Bo from Creekside, reached out to us, in the seconds that it happened, and we got an officer over there, and Brian was in the loop. It absolutely did happen, and, we were able to identify that, it was them. They accepted that responsibility. We got the Creekside staff in connection with the contractor, and they're working through that part. But it absolutely was. It shouldn't have happened. It did, and to the best of their abilities, are correcting it. Unfortunately, you can't undo the dust, but you can pay for the lost meals and that.
Wow.
Yes. If Brian's done, are you complete with your?
Oh, just last thing I'll mention is the creek will begin flowing again by the end of next week.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
I want to see that when they start to get
I
out.
want to know how much gold they got out of there.
Couple of thoughts. In terms of the dust, listen, we're not going to not make mistakes. It's how we handle them when we do, and I think it was handled well. So thank you, everyone, for taking care of that and taking that seriously. I think in the future, and this is not a comment about like blame or anything, but just thinking about in the future, we lost, and I know there are a lot of components and threads to this, but we lost 2 businesses right there during the closure of this bridge. And so just thinking in the future, like how do we navigate that as a community? This is clearly an important infrastructural project. And that's just something that I'm left thinking about that I'd love for us all to consider as we move forward. I'm not saying that we should have done anything differently, but just, and also, I live on Nevada Street. I heard all of this work being done. You guys work really early on the weekends, and I'm so glad you have, because it is so worth that street being closed. The amount of sound that comes is worth not having the traffic on that street. And although I'm looking forward to the bridge being complete and seeing how it looks and feels to drive across, I'm not looking forward to the traffic on that street. which goes way too fast. So thank you for all your efforts on this, and excited for the finish line.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, to the council member's point, we can always learn from what we've done, and we have to. There's certainly things in this project that didn't go as planned. Some of them from the contractor side, some of them, just lessons learned from our side. The businesses have their own, those two businesses have their own issues, but point certainly well taken. But more importantly, not that we lost those businesses is important, but we'll have future projects. The next one is the street project at the top of Broad. And so we'll be taking everything that we learned here. Brian's already working with Evan and with Lon on what our approach will be for community engagement. There'll be meetings with the neighbors on how will all roll out. We changed course on how we notify about water shutdowns and a variety of other things. And so while we certainly did some good things, we did some things that we can do better next time. And that's absolutely essential that, we do better by the community with each project. We'll never be perfect, but we can't just say, well, the bridge went in, you'll have to live with it, which I think does happen in some communities, but we're too small and my windows are on the street so people could throw things in them. So we'll just choose to do it better. So thank you for those comments. But if anybody has in the public or is that watching at home that has any suggestions, thoughts, things that impacted them or positive comments, we'd love to hear them, send them our way and we'll wrap it into the process as we move forward.
And real quick, is there any reason, is this perhaps connected to why my water's been brown the last few days? Is that connected to this? Maybe we can talk about that later.
Shouldn't be directly. We'll get Shane to take a look tomorrow.
All right. Not consistently, but.
Yes, just to be clear, the bridge will be open to traffic during Victorian Christmas?
Yes, it will.
Good, thanks.
And the parking lot as much as possible.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
Also good, thank you.
Is there going to be any kind of, well, quite frankly, this has been a long project, a party for traffic opening up? Is Bill Falcone going
Ribbon
to
cutting?
cut a ribbon or give a long speech?
Bill Falcone's final project?
I think all the official ceremonies would be in the spring, because it'll still look like a construction area on both ends.
Okay.
But
You can close it to traffic.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's a big project. I mean, it's amazing. People ask, what are you doing in Nevada City? And we're out in the world. I'm saying, we built a bridge. And they're like,
Take that, Kathy.
I mean, they're like, so you built a bridge? I said, no, we're 3,000 people and 2.6 million. Was it $11 million bridge? That we did that.
all in all,
And that's amazing. That's amazing. I think you're going to get a lot more grief on the next project because there are a lot more people that live next to that project.
They've been asking for it for a long time.
They have, but always the category of careful what you ask for because there's a lot of people who live in the vicinity of that one. It's a great project. It's coming along. It's overall it's gone well. Hasn't slipped too much on scheduling, and I think the budget is there. So, congratulations so far. But it's always about managing the contractors. I'm always about managing the contractors and ensuring that they comply with the needs of the community and their contract above all else. So that's what we got. I think we're good on that. We got anything else? Thank you, Brian.
thank you.
And so that brings us to reports and future agenda items, and we'll go first, as we do, to our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two completely unrelated things. Thank you to Shelley and all of the members of the Nisenan tribe and allies that came this evening. One of the things that she spoke about was their partnership with Cornwall, England. For those that don't know, Penzance, Cornwall, England is Nevada City's sister city. That's why we have the Penzance Room upstairs, home to our new Assistant City Manager, and Penzance Park, and the Pirates of Penzance on stage in 1892, I think, for the first time at the Nevada Theater.
No.
So all wonderful things, but as they are doing their lineage and work with what's going on there, we're going to be re-engaging with our sister city to support that effort. Come from two pieces of government, both the Nissan and from the city. So just a interesting alignment there. I wanted to thank Lisa McCandless and one of our public arts commissioners, Mira Clark, for those that are watching at home. Please join us. Come into City Hall for the first time in 150 years or so. We have art on the walls as you walk in through City Hall. In this case, it is the winners of the various categories of the 2024 Dark Skies Photography competition. Lisa and Mira hung all of those items and the descriptors and information about it on the walls this week. They will stay with us through the end of the year, and in January be replaced by a gallery installation in our City Hall Art Meets the Public Champ Gallery. The theme will, selected by our Public Arts Commission, is the Year of the Neighborhood. So really excited to see how our artists, local artists, are inspired by that. That, like I said, will be going up the first week of January. If anybody's interested in displaying in that gallery offering, they can go to our website, follow us on social media, as well as the Nevada County Arts Council. And that is all I have this evening, Mr. Mayor.
I'll go. With many of my colleagues here tonight, I attended the League of Cities conference last week in Long Beach. Happy to spend time with people at this table. Missed you, Doug. Sorry you didn't make it. Really grateful for the LGBTQ caucus evening. That was full of nice connections and surprises. And yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you to the city for sending us to that. And then also Adam and I engaged in the Economic and Community Development Committee. When was that?
Monday.
When was Monday?
Two nights ago.
Right. 2 nights ago on Monday, we did that. And we were looking at the benefits and negative impacts of our short-term rental ordinance. We had a considerable amount of people show up and contribute to those lists of benefits and negative impacts. And we're looking, thank you to everybody who showed up and shared their thoughts and experiences and ideas. And we're looking forward to engaging more in the future around solutions to that, and if and how we want to modify that ordinance. Super excited for that. And then on next Monday, Adam and I will engage in another meeting. What is that meeting again, Adam?
This one's about the nuisance ordinance, my friend.
Right, that thing.
You gonna go?
There will be an effigy of Dean present.
So, absolutely. We'll have a cardboard cutout with him like this. Love you, Dean.
But it's silent.
That's the best part. That's the best part. We could pre-record something. Is that also at 6 p.m. next week?
Yes.
Yes, that's also at 6 p.m. Monday in this room. Please join us to talk about that. Please, please, please. Love to have you.
Yeah.
Oh, also, sorry, one more thing. If you're so inclined to see me do art tomorrow night, and I'm sorry, many of you will be in meetings. Darn. I am performing a piece I've been working on for a really long time called Matriart. It's a 3-woman autobiographical theater ensemble, and we will be at St. Joe's Cultural Center in Grass Valley. We will meet in the garden at 6:30. Please come see me, talk about my role here. Yeah, on a stage.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Can you turn the mic on?
Thank you, Councilmember.
Is it off?
I will tragically be missing that. because I'll be in this room at a Chamber of Commerce meeting.
So many meetings.
But you're going to be talking about your role, and
I mean, I'm not talking. It's all theater. It's autobiographical.
Singing?
Though, so
Singing?
I do sing a little.
Oh, man.
A little bit. I really, really do.
So I'm urging the public to attend this and then report back to me exactly what was sung.
Just a little taste.
Yeah, Danielle has said we've got these Monday meetings now. What a treat. And the League of Cities was excellent and educational as always. So as Danielle said, thank you to the city for sending us down there. That's all I got.
I hope this is a legitimate welcome to Lon Peterson, the new Assistant City Manager. Glad to see you. Glad to have you on board. I also attended the League of Cities, and I attended the homelessness sessions particularly, and I'll write up a summary of that and shoot it to Sean, and then he can distribute it as he sees fit.
Thank you, Lou, for that.
I would like us to learn something from the September 9th incident at Siemens Lodge. What could the city have done differently, and what could the organizers of the event have done differently? So I would like to find out what we can learn and improve on from that, and not just leave it as a terrible thing that happened, or an efficient thing that happened, depending on your perspective.
Thank you.
And personally, I am off to Argentina on November 2nd for the International Gay and Lesbian Aquatic Association International Championships. where
That's
I'll
so
be
exciting.
Swimming my arms off again.
With the gays.
Yes.
In Argentina.
Yeah.
Be careful of that pink cocaine.
Buenos Aires.
What did you, never mind. I thought he was going to get a briefing on fascism so he could be prepared to live into the new world.
I will be out of the country when the election is decided. I do intend to come back.
That guy died.
Oh, good.
However, I just want to forewarn you guys that my flight is scheduled for the 12th, and they have twice rescheduled it. So my intent is to come back on the 12th and be here for the next meeting on the 13th.
Okay.
But your decision is up in the air, shall we say.
But I was not at the League of Cities, and I tinge with sadness that I missed you all there, and the Jones and Mayor dinner, which is always a fun event.
We had to share Dean, though.
Yeah, well, it was not as fun as it's been in the past, apparently. Yesterday, the mayor and I, along with Board of Supervisors Hall, and a lot of staff from the county, as well as our wonderful staff, hosted a courthouse reuse committee public meeting where we entertained, where our consultants who have been hired to conduct this study did the public outreach, public comments, gave a presentation. It was very effective. It was very under-attended, though, for our community who is very concerned about the courthouse and what happens to it, where it is, the new one, the old one. We just didn't have the normal representation that we did, and a couple of people made that observation because we care a lot in this community. But good things were said, and we made some movements towards best use for this for the old courthouse once it's vacated. A lot of different scenarios, a lot of good feedback. Little contention, not much, but it was just good to hear the public's perspective on this, and we did get a lot of good input. There was a sort of confluence about, a lot of the focus that we've been had on the steering committee was about economic viability, the market viability for the property, as opposed to the community's preferences. They were not ranked as high as the financial viability, and the community was a little bit concerned about that. But the bottom line is that it does have to pencil out before we could do anything with it. But I'm going to leave it there and let the mayor finish up and give his comments on this, because he was certainly there as well.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, a couple things. Thanks for the League of Cities. Always good, always interesting. I certainly found the Mayan Hotel to be very interesting. It was just different.
What'd you say? I'm sorry?
The Mayan Hotel where we stayed.
Oh yeah, was it? You guys stayed at the Mayan Hotel?
Yeah. We did.
Was it far away from the site?
It was the end of the line, but it was all right. It was okay. It was
Had a
not.
25-yard pool.
They had a pool? Nice. Oh, look how happy Lou was.
And, but, you know, always good
Greatest
educational.
dismay, the rooms were not square.
That's probably
They were
the
round?
problem. And, you know, I love the league. It's always where I go to confront my past. And Sean got to meet a few characters from my past. For sure. And it was always great to hang out with Steve and see Steve there. Yeah, we are busy with meetings. Yes, Doug and I, it was a good meeting last night. It would have been, wish we would have had the crowd that we had on, that you guys had on Monday night. We had about half of that, but it was interesting that it was a different crowd than we normally get. A lot of younger folks, a lot of people looking for stuff for kids and youth, which I thought was interesting. It's not something that we hear a lot. I thought the consultants are doing a very good job at this. This was a very well-run meeting, and particularly the person who explained some really technical, detailed information on markets and stuff, and she was just an artist in conveying that complex information in useful ways for making decisions. She was very, very good. So I think it was a very good meeting. So you guys had Monday night, and then we had that meeting Tuesday night. We have this meeting tomorrow night, and tomorrow night.
Fire Safety Advisory
Well,
Committee.
no, the vice mayor has the chamber first, and the Fire Safety Advisory Committee meeting. That's where I go to Rockland for the Pioneer Energy meeting, and then come back. And then we will be meeting at the proof of concept site for the home hardening over in Pioneer Park, because the chamber meeting is going to be here. So we're going to be meeting out in the field, and then they're meeting again Monday. But what I really want to say about that was, you know, we are opening the door for active participation in our decision-making and setting the future course for this community. So come to these meetings. Tell us what you think. I like to say this a lot, the idea that the five of us could understand all of the needs, wants, and desires of the community is ludicrous. You've got to tell us. We're good, we pay attention, we talk to people, but, you know, we can't possibly get it all. So I think it's been a great example. We're really unfolding this participation, year of the neighborhood, engagement with our community. All very good. With that said, I am looking for a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Second. Can I say all in favor? All in favor.
Must
Just
do roll
don't
call to
say-
adjourn.
Just don't do the negative reverse. Yeah, the negative reverse.
Why are we still here? Well, they never do.